Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for dropping by. Well, have I got a fantastic little telescope for you to have a look at today. Now, what you're looking at is the DDL TW2 from a company called BeaverLab. Now, I've got to admit, I knew very little about BeaverLab until they reached out to me asking me if I wanted to have a look at their latest product. And it turns out BeaverLab do various things, telescopes, microscopes, lenses, just all things optical, really. And judging by this telescope, of very good quality. Now, like I say, BeaverLab did send me this telescope to have a look at, and that's purely it. They've not asked me to sell it in any shape or form or pay me to promote it. They just want an honest opinion, and that's exactly what I'm going to give you here today. Now, at first glance, this just looks like a traditional looking telescope, but unlike most telescopes you get eyepieces provided, this doesn't come with any eyepieces. But what it does come with is this rather handsome digital camera. Now, more on this shortly, because I think they both merit the separate little look at. So we'll just put that to one side for the minute, more on the camera shortly, but that is included with the package. Now, this entire setup, by the way, before you're wondering how much this retails for, I'm not quite sure, because this really is a first look at this telescope. I'm one of the lucky few that's actually got one of these at the minute. Because at the time of release of recording this video, it's not even been released in the shops. It's not even on their website at the minute. Now, the release date is the 14th of August 2024. So I'm hoping this video is going to be up by then. So if I'm a little bit vague with any details of this telescope, please follow the link below in the description. I'm sure you'll find what you need to know in there if I miss anything or don't make it clear enough. Right, now I've got so much to say about this telescope, so we better crack on. So I'll just talk about the this side of it first, and then, like I say, we'll talk about the camera. Now, I can honestly say it's not very often that a telescope ticks all the correct boxes for me. And in my time, I've looked through and reviewed dozens and dozens of telescopes. And honestly, folks, this one ticked all the boxes and more. Some of them took me took me totally by surprise. Now, the telescope itself is a 82 millimeter refracting telescope. Now, I don't know if you can see the lens down there, the big 82 lens. Now, that on refractor side of things, that is a really big lens, because as you probably do or do not know, telescopes come in both ways to focus the light, either with mirrors or with lenses. And this particular one, being a refractor, uses lenses. Now, I can honestly say that that instantly ticks a box for me of the aperture size, because 80 or 82 millimeters is quite a fair old, that's a serious size of refracting telescopes. And I would go as far as to say it's that next step up to an entry-level size of telescope. So this is a proper bit of kit here. Now, the focal length of this telescope is 500 millimeters, which is a nice size, really, because not only does that focal length give you quite a nice magnification, it's also short enough to be what's called fast enough. It's just a photographic term to do photography, which is what this is designed for. Now, the tube of the telescope is made of some kind of metal. I would assume it's aluminium, and it's like a black powder coat finish on it, and you can see the BeaverLab decal just there. Now, going on to the focuser, I just want to quickly go on to the focuser. Now, you will have to focus this just like any other telescope, and it's just a case of moving this focuser in and out just by twisting it clockwise or anti-clockwise. If you've used a telescope before, I'm sure you're perfectly familiar how that works, but that's just a thing to remember, that you do have to focus the camera, you know, or should I say the telescope to the camera. Now, even though the tube is steel, made out of metal or aluminium or aluminum, depending on which side of the pond you are, the actual focuser is, I believe, is some kind of ABS. Now, this isn't a problem. There's a lot of good things made out of ABS, but what is usually a problem is that paint won't stick to this kind of material. Now, if you look closely on this focuser here, it is finished in like a kind of a matte finish, but it's still got a bit of a shine onto it. So that usually means the inside of this tube is going to be incredibly shiny. And that is a bad thing in a telescope. The good news is in this TW2, the boffins down at BeaverLab obviously are aware of this problem. And they've done something that I've never seen in a factory release telescope before. Because if you look closely in here, the camera's probably not even picking it up. You'll see it's ever so black in there, and that's because they've put a black flocking material inside. And I mean, this is usually something that you have to do as a hack or a mod to your telescope. I mean, I've done it before in the past in focusing tubes. But like I say, BeaverLab are aware that the shiny tubes are a bad thing when it comes to telescopes and put this black flocking in. Now, the reason why you don't want a shiny tube, by the way, if you're not aware, is what that will do is as light comes through the telescope, it scatters all over the place because it acts like a mirror, if you like, the surface of a shiny tube. And this is going to cause bad contrast, bad images, basically, and unwanted lens flares and things like that. So it's a real plus and a real bonus and a big gold star to BeaverLab for actually flocking the inside of this tube. Now, the telescope is also come supplied with a finder, a little finder scope. Now, this is really going to help you find images of things in the night sky and in the daytime. And I'm pleased to say another box to check for me, in my opinion, is that this is a red dot finder, not an optical finder. Now, what a red dot finder is, if you don't know, it just simply it's a bit like a heads-up display that you can get in cars that shine up, you know, onto your windscreen or windshield, I think you call it in America, or even on pilots, they have these heads-up displays. It's a little bit like that, not as fancy, obviously, and it just causes a red dot to almost appear in the night sky. And wherever you aim and point that red dot, whether it's the moon or a ship on the horizon, it will be in the telescope's field of view. But you do have to remember that you do have to calibrate these things to your telescope once you've fixed it to the telescope. And if I just spin this round, it's a really easy way of doing that. This is the on-off button for the telescope, and then you've got two adjustment screws here. You got one here, and then the actual eyepiece bit turns, and that does your left and right and your up and down. Now, I'm not going to go into precisely how you align a red dot finder. You'll find loads here on YouTube how to do that. Even I've done a video, I think, on how to calibrate your finder scope. But it's a very, very essential part of any telescope to make them easy to use, basically, and easy to find things. So, like I say, a red dot finder supplied with this telescope, 10 out of 10 for that. Now, the telescope comes supplied with what's called, you've probably heard of, an Altaz mount. Now, in layman terms, that just simply means up, down, left and right, just like a camera. Really, really easy to use. And where most telescopes fall down, to be honest with you, on this sort of on this level, is the mount. The mount really does or can let telescopes down. They're usually sticky, wobbly, unbearable to use. And that's, and again, BeaverLab have checked another box by being aware of this and done this beautiful, simple Altaz mount. Now, I just love the design. As you can see, the finder scope's all built into this thing. It's all one unit, which, as you can imagine, makes this an absolute dream to put up or to assemble straight out of the bag. The other thing to notice, which I did, was this oversized torsion bar here. This is how you lock your up and down motion, if you like. You just give it a twist and that frees it, and then tighten it up, tighten it up like that, and that locks it off. But I thought, wow, this is long. Why is this so long? And actually using the telescope, I kind of got it. And what this does, in actual fact, with it being so long, is it gives you really nice find almost like slow motion controls of the telescope. You can really maneuver the telescope for homing in on fine details to get onto the camera. It does make the what's already a smooth little Altaz mount even smoother. It's a great idea. And finally, it comes also supplies with a full-size tripod, again finished in like a powder-coated aluminium, I believe. And believe me, it's a lot sturdier than it looks at first. And this is what I'm saying about this telescope. It just checks and ticks all the right boxes, right down to the little detail of this black flocking in the focuser tube. To the mount, the way the mount works, it works lovely. You're not going to have any problem at all. It really is great. I don't think I've ever seen this molded all-in-one design before, but I love it. And just a quick, what I was saying about assembling, how easy it is. This is how easy it is. It's just one retaining nut at the bottom here of the tripod, which you can undo. And if I take that off, there we go. And as you can see, that's it. That's your entire unit. Now, this comes, I forgot to mention earlier, it actually comes in a right convenient little storage bag, or a carrying bag for transporting the telescope. And you can just literally take this out of the bag, plonk the tripod down. We all know how a tripod goes down, and that's it. It's a case of putting one bolt into the telescope. Haven't got my glasses on, so finding the hole. There we go. Yeah, so I mean, how quick is that? How many telescopes do you know with that? I mean, you don't have to attach the tube of the telescope, the finder scope, nothing. It's just straight out of the bag onto this, and you're ready to go and shoot some amazing photographs. So that's the telescope, and as you can see, I rather like it. I think it's a great little telescope. So the camera, now this is again a fantastic little bit of kit. Now this is an 8 megapixel digital camera, and it also shoots 4K video, which I believe is unlimited because it now. The memory side of it, I think it's a built-in memory, because I've looked everywhere for a memory card and I just can't find one. I don't know whether I'm just not looking in the right place. So, like I say, I assume that you can just do infinite recording or photos until that gets full, and then you just delete the photos, just normal process. But what impresses me with this camera is the ease of use. And when I say a child could operate this, I really do mean it, because it's also comes, I forgot to mention, a 5-inch HD touchscreen as well, just like a phone, I suppose. And also supplied in the back here, you do get a remote control. Always handy to have, because of course when under any high magnification, you know that it kind of wobbles a little bit, the camera, when you press the shoot button. So having a hands-free system like that is a good little touch. You turn the camera on simply by pressing and holding this button at the front here. And what you're going to be greeted by is something that you are instantly going to recognize. There's going to be no need for the instruction manual when you switch this on, because this the software they've used for this is just instantly recognizable as like a phone camera app. If you can take a photograph with your phone, you can take a photograph with this camera. That's how easy to recognizable. And I love that. I just absolutely love that. There's no complicated settings at all whatsoever in this camera. But don't be fooled that this is just a basic little camera app, because there's a lot of AI little robots going off in this thing. And with this being so new, this telescope, I don't know that much about it. I will do some kind of update. But there's all sorts of things in here. I know one of them is a little AI bot that deals with something that's called chromatic aberration. Now, chromatic aberration is something that all refractor telescopes suffer with, and it's just basically a little bit of false color. You get a little bit of fringing around the edges of things, and this little AI bot works constantly correcting that. So if it picks it up, no, we're not having any of that, and it takes out any false color. Now, just that one little setting alone is so so useful, because usually if you were just doing basic photography with any camera, you'd have to then put that in separate software to get rid of that chromatic aberration, know all the lingo, know all the settings of how to do it, you know, and that's just a big learning curve, as where this camera is constantly doing it for you. And it really is as simple as point, click, and you've got a fantastic photograph. You don't have to worry about color balance and exposure or anything like that. Now you can, if you want, because it does have the function of just going into full manual mode, so you can play with it to your heart's content. Something I forgot to mention, it is a CMOS sensor in this. I don't, like I say, I'm a little bit vague on the tech side, the spec side, should I say, of this camera. The size, if I have learned the size of it, I shall flash up now on the screen. But it's a little CMOS sensor, and with what I know, little knowledge I know about cameras, it does a fine job, as you'll see in a moment. Now, I've not had a great deal of time to play with this telescope because I've only had it a couple of days, and I had to get this video out for the release date. But I have managed to get a few daytime and nighttime shots. Now, this is a shot of the moon that I took, and as you can see, wow, you know, that's just straight from the camera. I've not done any editing to it. I just took it out, took a quick snapshot of the moon, and that was just before the clouds come rolling in. And the next night, I was just about to get it. I don't know whether I've got a shot of that, and it was so low to the horizon, it wasn't a great photograph. You know, just on that one little shot, you could see that this is more than capable of doing some great nighttime photographs. Now, this telescope is going to be great for photographing the planets, or the brighter planets, should I say, such as Saturn and Jupiter, and even Venus. At the minute, unfortunately, though, they're not in any suitable viewing place for me to get a shot of them. I will be looking forward to having a go at them later on the year. But yes, this telescope will be capable of doing some great photographs of, say, Saturn and Jupiter. As for deep sky, definitely the brighter ones, such as the Pleiades and maybe even the Orion Nebula. But you've got to remember that this is aimed at a wide audience. I mean, because I've had lots of fun with it. So, you know, it's aimed at total beginners, even seasoned astronomers. Because like I say, I'm a seasoned astronomer, and I'm still having lots of fun with it. But it's not aimed at like this serious astrophotographer. You know, it's just designed for convenience and to take some great photographs. Again, now to fit the camera to the telescope couldn't be easier. I mean, it's just simply you put it on and it locks in like that, and that's it. The camera's on and you're ready to shoot. So just think about that for 1 second, how quick from the bag or the box this is to how quick it is to set up. You plonk the tripod down, one bolt to put the telescope and mount assembly, and then clunk click for the camera. You're ready to go. It really is fast. I love that side of it. And of course, this screen here will flip up and go to any easy viewing angle that you want, really. Now, of course, you can use this telescope as well in the daytime, and wow, does it work well in the daytime as well. Now, in my back garden, unfortunately, I haven't got that much to look at, only treetops, but I think there's a little bit of video playing in the minute. And as you can see, once again, I mean, that is a big test for its color balance and its chromatic aberration, because we've got a bright skylight with trees in front. And it's a good test for any optical system, that. And as you can see, it's pretty sharp and clear. Another thing that's really impressed me with this setup is the focal ratio, the focal length of this telescope. Now, the trees that I've just shown you, they're about, I don't know, 500, 600 meters away. And I was just wondering how close you could actually get to things. Now, I'll give you this shot of these brambleberries that you can see here that are growing in the bottom of my garden. Don't worry, they're going to be eaten soon. But believe it or not, they are round about 20 foot away from me. What's that? 6 meters, something like that. and I could still get a lovely crisp focus, as you can see. And I honestly can't think of many binoculars that can get as close as that. And to be honest with you, I think I could have even got a bit closer. So yeah, this is, like, as you can see, that's going to be fantastic for nature lovers to really get close on that bumblebee on a flower or something. Yeah, really impressive. Now, one of the other little extras you get in the package when you get this telescope is one of these things. Now, at first, I thought this was some kind of Barlow lens. Well, it is in a way, but it's a focal reducer. This will give you a wider field of view and not so much magnified image, if you like. And this is what I use for those close-ups of the brambles that you've just seen. And this just simply fits on, like, if I just take the lens cap off here. Actually, I had to switch this camera off for a minute while we're not using it. There we go. Let's switch that off. Yeah, this just fits on like if you've ever used a filter thread on any eyepiece. It just simply screws on to the nose cone like that. And then you would just simply put that back into the telescope and you're ready to go. The beauty of this nose cone, though, is it means that you don't just have to use it with this telescope. This is 1.25 inch nose cone, so this means it'll fit into some smaller telescopes, which is really handy, especially if you want to travel. You know, how much room does that take up? And some of these small travel scopes, that, you know, this will be great to use with one of those. Now, another inclusion in the little package that you get with this is one of my favorite little inclusions, and it's this. You get a solar filter. Now, what this does, this will enable you to take photographs of the sun, and more importantly, take photographs of the sun perfectly safely. Now, I've got to say this while I'm in this section about pointing telescopes towards suns. Please be careful with it. Just use your common sense, folks. One, never ever. Oh, let me just quickly show you how you fit this. This actually fits to the dust cover. If you pop you can see that it comes in. This centerpiece pops out. I shall just pop that in my pocket for a minute so don't lose it. And this then just goes onto there like that. Okay, and then you just pop the entire thing back onto the front of the telescope. And the sun will shine through this, and this filter will filter out any damaging light that comes through the telescope. Now, never ever attach the camera to the telescope and point it to the sun without this fitted, or ever point the telescope without one of these fitted. It's incredibly dangerous, folks. I can't stress how dangerous it is. Not only can it damage the internals of the telescope, it can, more importantly, damage you. And unfortunately, one of the biggest victims to this is kids, because telescopes get left unattended, and it only takes a small child to, you know, have a look. So just use your common sense, folks. The sun can be very dangerous, but like I say, with this little filter that BeaverLab have provided, it makes it incredibly safe. Once you've got the sun in the field of view, you can just snap a photograph like this. Now, as you can see, that's a fantastic photograph of the sun. Now, those spots you can see are not dirt on the camera lens. They are actually what's called sunspots, and this is what we want to be looking for when we're observing the sun. Now, these are just periodic cooler spots on the sun's surface that just come and go, and it's just a great extension to the hobby to study sunspots on a daily basis and just see how they move around the sun and then suddenly disappear. Sometimes they can be really active, and other times you don't see any. Thing as well, like, you don't have to mess with any other functions on the camera when you point it at the sun. Like I say, the camera will sort it out, or you're pointing at the sun, sort it all out for you, and you press the button. Now, the photographs couldn't be easier, again, to transfer from the camera to whatever device you want, whether it's laptop or your phone, whatever. You can do this over Wi-Fi, because this thing will connect to Wi-Fi, or you can just do it with USB cables. And now I think this one, yeah, it's Type-C that this takes. The cable does come provided with the camera. And when you do it via Wi-Fi, it's just a simple click one button, basically. Honestly, folks, you'll soon work it out. Like I say, this is what I love about this telescope. It's the ease of use. It's how easy it is, straight from the box, from setting up to taking photographs. And I was thinking about, you know, who this is for, and like I've already said, I think this is for everybody, but it's also going to be really useful for people that can't use telescopes so well. And I know there's a few of you out there, because I got a lot of comments saying I just can't get on with a telescope. No matter what eyepiece I use, I just can't see through them. And my missus is one of those people. She just cannot get on with looking through a telescope. She's tried and tried and tried. Well, something like this is the answer. You know, there's no eyepieces involved. It's all on a screen. Another target audience is kids. I mean, children really struggle looking through proper astronomical telescopes. And, you know, every child now is familiar with looking at a little screen. So again, it's looking, it's going to be great for kids and introducing them to the night sky. And finally, another one I thought of is people with disabilities. Not everybody can get out and look through an eyepiece. You may be wheelchair bound, it might be anything like that. With the simplicity of how this thing is set up and how you can just position it to any suitable and easy viewing angle, well, that's definitely going to be, you know, a bonus, and so convenient for people that, you know, would love to do this hobby but just can't. And I honestly think this is going to allow them to do some great astronomy with it, as well as great photography. And just think how good this would be at star parties, or any party really where there's a gathering. I mean, you could go and set this thing outside at the moon or whatever target, and most TVs these days are Wi-Fi compatible, and you could just project the image straight onto a big screen. That's one thing I've talked about and I forgot to mention. You do all this via an app. I'm so glad I've just remembered that there's an app involved. Yeah, you need to download an app. There's a QR code, as well as just go onto the App Store, look for BeaverLab. I think it's available on all devices, I think. Don't quote me on that. And yeah, the app's easy to use. Again, self-explanatory, but you will need to download that free of charge from the App Store. So there you go, folks. The world's first exclusive look at this new telescope from BeaverLab. And I really do wish them all the success with the sales of this telescope, because I think it's a fine bit of kit. And like I say, I'm not trying to sell you this in any way. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. And I think anybody owns this is going to have a lot of fun with it. And more importantly, it's going to be one of those telescopes that people are actually going to use. I find it so sad, the amount of stories I hear of people, they buy a telescope, they don't get on with it, and it just finishes up in the basement gathering dust somewhere. I don't think this is going to be a bottom drawer telescope, this one. I think this is something you're going to have a lot of fun with. Well, I just want to say a big thank you to BeaverLab, and best of luck with this fine product. And also you, my audience, if you've watched this far, it really does mean a lot to me watching my videos. And especially if you have enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up button, because that's the one that really does make all the difference to a small channel like mine. Well, in the meantime, folks, take good care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.